Some women seem to move through the world as if they are guided by an invisible force, a current of energy that both men and women feel but cannot name. They command attention without demanding it. They possess a quality that bypasses logic, that speaks directly to a primal part of the human psyche. This isn't about conventional beauty, nor is it about calculated seduction. It is the subtle, yet overwhelming, presence of a psychological archetype, the Siren. In the landscape of Jungian psychology, archetypes are ancient, universal patterns and images that derive from the collective unconscious. They are the psychic DNA of humanity. The hero, the sage, the trickster, and the siren. She is often misunderstood, relegated to myth as a mere temptress. But her true nature is far more profound. The siren is not a role you play, she is an energy you embody. She represents the forgotten, the repressed, the deeply instinctual feminine soul that the modern, hyper-rational world has tried to tame. Her power is a psychological phenomenon rooted in the male unconscious. A man is not drawn to her because of who she is, but because of what she represents to the deepest, most hidden parts of himself. She is a living mirror to his own soul's longing, his anima. He doesn't see a woman, he sees a dream, a fantasy, a missing piece of his own spirit made real. This is why the attraction feels fated, magnetic, and dangerously compelling. It's a call from his own depths, and she is the one who gives it a voice. Do you understand what this means? It means the power was never about pleasing him, it was about awakening something dormant within him. The mechanism of this enchantment is what Carl Jung called projection. Every man carries within him a subconscious feminine image, the anima. This is not a specific woman, but an amalgamation of all his experiences, hopes, fears, and ancestral memories of the feminine. It is his soul image. When a man is captivated, truly mesmerized to the point of obsession, it is because he has projected this deeply personal, sacred image onto a living woman. He has found the external vessel for his inner ideal. The siren, whether consciously or unconsciously, becomes the perfect screen for this projection. Her defining quality is a certain ambiguity, a mysterious depth. She is not an open book. Her motives are not easily read. This space, this lack of clear definition, allows a man's imagination to run wild. He fills in the blanks with his own desires, painting her with the colors of his own soul. He believes he is falling in love with her, but what he is truly falling for is the most divine, repressed part of his own psyche. This is why logical arguments from his friends or family fail. They say, "What do you see in her?" And he has no rational answer. Because he is not operating from his conscious mind. The siren's allure has bypassed the ego, the gatekeeper of logic, and has spoken directly to his unconscious. The connection feels transcendent, as if it were written in the stars. But it is written in his own psychology. Have you ever felt this? The sense that you are more than just a person to him, but an idea, a symbol? This is the heart of the siren's power, she becomes his personal myth. Beyond the idealized anima, the siren awakens a far more potent and volatile force, the shadow. The shadow, in Jungian terms, is the part of ourselves we repress, the dark side we refuse to acknowledge. For the modern, civilized man, the shadow often contains everything the good boy is not allowed to be: chaotic, emotional, unpredictable, sensuous, and wild. He has been conditioned to value logic, control, and stability. He has pushed his own capacity for deep, untamed feeling into the darkness. Then, he meets her. The siren is not afraid of the dark. In fact, she lives there. She is comfortable with emotional intensity, with sensuality, with the very chaos he has spent his life trying to manage. She doesn't just accept these qualities, she embodies them. She gives him permission, through her very existence, to feel what he has forbidden himself from feeling. Her presence is a silent invitation to explore his own shadow. This is an intoxicating, terrifying experience for him. He is drawn to her like a moth to a flame, precisely because she represents a danger to his carefully constructed world, his ego identity. She is the freedom he secretly craves but openly fears. Her allure is the allure of the forbidden, the thrill of touching a part of himself he thought was lost forever. When you embrace your own complexities, your own mix of light and dark, you cease to judge it in yourself. And it is this radical self-acceptance that becomes an irresistible psychic lure. You are not just offering him pleasure, you are offering him a glimpse of his own wholeness. This magnetic pull is rarely established through words. The siren's primary language is not verbal, it is somatic. It is energy. It is presence. Think of her voice. It is not necessarily what she says, but the tonality, the cadence, the rhythm. Her voice often carries a quality of calm in the midst of a storm, a low, resonant frequency that soothes the nervous system and bypasses conscious analysis. It communicates safety and mystery in the same breath. It is a sound that the primal brain, not the logical brain, decodes as deeply feminine and trustworthy. Her presence operates in the same way. Some people enter a room and are instantly forgotten. The siren enters a room, and the very air seems to shift. This is not due to loud behavior or flamboyant dress. It is the result of a profoundly grounded inner state. She is fully in her body, not trapped in the anxiety of her mind. This creates an aura of self-possession. She is not looking for anything from anyone. She is not seeking validation or approval from the eyes that watch her. This is the intersection of Jungian depth and Stoic philosophy. The great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote of the inner citadel, a fortress of the mind that external events cannot breach. The siren has built this citadel. Her emotional state is not determined by the chaos outside of her. This inner peace, this unshakable core, is what men perceive as an almost mystical power. He feels his own inner turmoil, his own anxieties, and in her presence, he feels a moment of peace. He becomes addicted not to her, but to the way he feels about himself when he is near her. As much as she is a mirror for his ideal, the siren is also a devastating mirror for his inadequacy. Her profound self-containment acts as an unconscious judgment on his own lack of it. When a man is insecure, disconnected from his purpose, and seeking validation externally, the siren's presence will amplify these feelings 1,000 times. Her wholeness highlights his fragmentation. Her purpose exposes his drift. Her lack of neediness illuminates his own desperation. This creates a volatile cocktail of emotions within him, intense desire mixed with intense resentment. He wants to possess her, to conquer her, to solve the riddle of her. He believes that if he can win her approval, it will soothe his own inner emptiness. He projects onto her the power to validate his very existence. This is the ego's desperate game. It is the source of obsession, the frantic need to capture the butterfly so its beauty can be owned. Do you see the trap? You are made into the source of his salvation and the source of his suffering. This is why interactions with this archetype can become so dramatic and emotionally charged. He is not fighting with you, he is fighting with himself. He is wrestling with the reflection you show him. Your power, in this dynamic, is to remain unmoved by this storm. To understand, as the Stoics teach, that his emotional outbursts, his pleas, and his anger are his own, not yours to absorb. Your calm in the face of his chaos is what makes you impossibly magnetic and, to his ego, infuriatingly unattainable. Here, we must draw a critical distinction. There is the woman who unconsciously stumbles into the Siren archetype, driven by her own wounds and a desperate need for male validation. She becomes a slave to the power she wields, trapped in a cycle of seduction and abandonment, leaving a trail of destruction in her wake, including her own. This is not empowerment, it is a gilded cage. Then, there is the woman who consciously integrates this archetype as part of her journey toward wholeness. This is the path of individuation. Individuation is Jung's term for the process of becoming a complete, integrated self. It is the journey of uniting the conscious and unconscious parts of your psyche. For a woman, this means courageously turning inward to face her own shadow. It means looking at the parts of herself she has been taught to despise, her anger, her ambition, her raw sensuality, her desire for power. The good girl conditioning runs deep in the collective female psyche, teaching you to be compliant, to shrink yourself, to never be too much. Integrating the Siren archetype is an act of rebellion against this conditioning. It is the process of reclaiming your full spectrum. You stop apologizing for your intensity. You stop hiding your intelligence. You stop fearing your own allure. This is not about becoming a manipulator. It is about becoming authentic. The power is no longer used to capture a man's attention but to fuel your own life's purpose. The magnetism becomes a byproduct of your self-realization, not its goal. When you are no longer seeking a man to complete you, you become a fascinating, whole world that he is curious to enter. This journey inward, this process of integration, is shadow work. It is the courageous and often painful task of making the darkness conscious. It begins with radical self-honesty. Where do you seek validation? Do you feel a compulsive need to be liked? Are you terrified of being alone? Do you measure your worth by the amount of male attention you receive? These are not easy questions, but the answers hold the key to your freedom. Shadow work asks you to embrace the parts of you that you have been taught are shameful. The needy girl inside you? Instead of shaming her, you listen to her. What is she truly afraid of? The angry girl? You give her a voice, understanding that her anger is a sacred signal that a boundary has been crossed. The sensual woman? You allow her to exist without judgment, understanding that your sensuality is a life force energy, not a performance for others. As you begin to accept and integrate these disowned parts, something miraculous happens. You stop projecting them onto others. You no longer need a man to be your strength, because you have found your own. You no longer need him to make you feel desired, because you desire yourself. This creates an energy of profound self-sufficiency. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that true freedom comes from differentiating between what we can control and what we cannot. You cannot control a man's attraction, but you can control the relationship you have with yourself. By healing your own inner world, you become impervious to the games of the outer world. Your wholeness is your shield and your sword. This is where the Siren archetype transcends mere attraction and becomes a philosophy of life, deeply resonant with Stoicism. The unintegrated Siren is emotionally volatile, her moods rising and falling with the tide of a man's attention. She is a ship without a rudder. The conscious, integrated woman, however, operates from her inner citadel, a concept so beautifully articulated by Marcus Aurelius. This is her core of unshakable peace, her internal sanctuary that no person or event can violate. Her value is not a stock on the market, fluctuating with external approval. It is a fixed, internal constant. This generates a powerful energy of stoic indifference. This is not a cold, uncaring detachment. It is a warm, centered non-attachment. It says, "Your presence in my life is a wonderful addition, but it is not a requirement for my happiness. My peace was here before you arrived, and it will be here if you leave." Can you feel the immense power in that stance? For a man accustomed to women who subtly, or overtly, seek his approval, this is both baffling and deeply intriguing. He cannot find the usual levers of validation and control. His compliments are received graciously, but they do not inflate her ego. His criticism or withdrawal is observed, but it does not shatter her self-worth. She has anchored her emotional well-being not in the shifting sands of his opinion, but in the bedrock of her own character and self-respect. This profound emotional self-reliance is the ultimate aphrodisiac, because it signals a soul that is truly free. Consider her gaze. The way a woman looks at a man can communicate everything. The needy woman looks with eyes that plead, "Do you like me? Am I enough?" The insecure woman looks with eyes that challenge, "Prove your worth to me." These are gazes that come from the ego, from a place of lack. The siren's gaze is different. It is a gaze that comes from the soul. It is the gaze of the abyss. It is a look of profound acceptance and deep knowing. It does not skim the surface, assessing his status, his looks, or his wealth. It seems to penetrate through the social mask, through the carefully constructed ego, and see directly into the man beneath. It sees his strengths, his vulnerabilities, his hidden fears, and his secret dreams. And it is not afraid. There is no judgment in this gaze. There is only a quiet, powerful "I see you." For a man who spends his life wearing armor, performing strength, and hiding his vulnerabilities, being seen in this way is a soul-shaking experience. It is terrifying and exhilarating. The ego wants to run, to hide from such profound exposure. But the soul, the deep self, has been thirsting for this kind of recognition its entire life. Her gaze bypasses his intellect and speaks to this deep-seated human need to be seen and accepted for who we truly are. It is an act of intimacy that requires no words, creating a bond that he cannot logically explain and finds impossible to break. She saw him. And that, he will never forget. At its core, her psychological power is rooted in the dynamic of abundance versus scarcity. Most of the world operates from a mindset of scarcity and need. People are seeking something outside of themselves to fill an inner void: validation, security, love, a sense of purpose. Their energy is subtly, or not so subtly, leeching, asking, "What can you give me?" This creates a transactional, anxious energy that repels more than it attracts. The siren, in her integrated form, operates from a state of profound internal abundance. She is the source of her own validation, security, and purpose. Her cup is already full. She is not looking to a man to be the source of her happiness, she is the source. Therefore, her presence, her attention, her energy, are not things she gives to get something in return. They are an overflow of the richness of her own inner world. This completely flips the script. For the man, she becomes a source of immense value, a psychological scarcity. Because she does not need him, her choice to spend time with him becomes a genuine gift, not a strategy. Her attention is precious because it is not given away freely to just anyone. It is earned by those who can meet her at her level. This triggers a deep, instinctual drive in the masculine psyche to prove himself worthy of that gift. He finds himself wanting to pursue, to strive, to become a better man, not because she has demanded it, but because her very being inspires it. She doesn't chase, she attracts. Why do so many women shy away from this innate power? Why is the word siren so often associated with negativity? The answer lies in collective and personal trauma. From a very young age, women are given a dangerous and contradictory set of messages. Be beautiful, but not too beautiful, or you will be seen as vain or threatening. Be smart, but not too smart, or you will intimidate men. Be sensual, but not sexual, or you will be labeled as bad. This is the good girl conditioning, a trauma bond with a patriarchal system that fears the full spectrum of female power. To be a good girl is to be safe. It means amputating the parts of yourself that might be judged or rejected. You learn to suppress your anger, your ambition, and your raw, erotic nature. You become pleasant, agreeable, and accommodating. You learn that your worth comes from being chosen, from being a good daughter, a good partner, a good mother. Your own desires become secondary to the desires of others. To embody the Siren archetype is to consciously break this trauma bond. It is a declaration of self-sovereignty. It is the terrifying, liberating act of choosing yourself first. It requires grieving the good girl you thought you had to be in order to be loved. It means facing the fear that if you show your full, authentic self, your darkness, your power, your intensity, you will be abandoned. But the woman who takes this risk discovers the ultimate truth. The only love that can be lost by being authentic was never truly yours to begin with. It was a transaction based on a false self. The Siren understands, on an instinctual level, the concept of energetic polarity. In the dance of attraction, there are two primary energies, the masculine and the feminine. The masculine is the energy of direction, logic, structure, and purpose. It is a straight line. The feminine is the energy of flow, creativity, emotion, and life itself. It is a circle, a wave. A healthy society and a magnetic relationship require both in balance. The modern world has often wrongly equated feminine energy with weakness. In an attempt to gain power, many women have adopted a more masculine energy. They become competitive, rigid, and overly logical, shutting down their own innate feminine gifts of intuition and emotional depth. This creates a state of energetic neutrality, or worse, repulsion, with a masculine man. If he provides the structure and she provides the structure, there is no tension, no spark, no dance. The Siren revels in her feminine essence. This is not weakness, it is her superpower. She does not try to beat a man at his own game. She creates a game he has never played before, a game of feeling, mystery, and depth. While he might build the ship, the structure, she is the ocean it sails upon, the flow. She is the chaos to his order, the mystery to his logic. This dance of opposing forces creates a powerful magnetic pull. His masculine core feels a deep, soul-level recognition. In her feminine presence, he feels more like a man. It is a feeling of coming home to a fundamental, archetypal balance that his soul has been craving. A key element of her magnetic power lies in the art of strategic withdrawal. This is not a manipulative game of playing hard to get. It is a genuine rhythm of presence and absence, rooted in a life that is full and multi-dimensional. The Siren's world does not revolve around a man. She has her own purpose, her own passions, her own friendships, her own deep need for solitude and reflection. Her life is a rich tapestry, and a romantic relationship is but one beautiful thread within it. When she is with him, she is fully present, offering him the intoxicating gift of her focused attention. But when she withdraws, she is not pining by the phone. She is genuinely engaged in the other aspects of her life. She is returning to her center, to her own wellspring of energy. This absence does two critical things. First, it gives him the space to miss her, to wonder about her. The imagination is a powerful amplifier of attraction. In her absence, his mind will replay their interactions, magnify her positive qualities, and deepen his emotional investment. Second, it forces him to move from a state of passive admiration to active pursuit. Her constant availability would create comfort and predictability, which are the enemies of erotic tension. Her absence creates a healthy sense of challenge. It signals that her time and energy are valuable resources that must be earned, not taken for granted. He must step up, make an effort, and prove he is worthy of being a part of her well-lived life. This respects his masculine nature, which is wired to strive and overcome challenges. Initially, a man's attraction to the siren is almost pure projection. He is in love with his own anima, his own soul image, and she is merely the screen upon which he plays this inner movie. He doesn't see the real woman, with her flaws, her history, and her humanity. He sees a goddess, a myth, a savior. This is the stage of infatuation, and it is inherently unstable, because no real person can live up to a fantasy forever. However, for the man who is on his own path of growth and individuation, the siren can serve as a powerful catalyst. As the relationship progresses, the cracks in the projection inevitably begin to show. Her reality pierces through his fantasy. This can be a moment of crisis. The immature man will retreat, blaming her for not being the goddess he imagined. He will say, "You've changed," when in fact, he is simply seeing her for the first time. But the conscious man will be forced to look inward. He will be prompted to ask, what was I projecting onto her? What part of myself was I asking her to hold for me? This is the painful but necessary process of taking back his projections. He stops making her responsible for his soul and starts the work of integrating his own inner feminine. It is at this moment that the dynamic can transform. It can move from an obsessive, ego-driven projection to a genuine, soul-level recognition between two whole individuals. He finally sees her, the woman behind the archetype, and can love her for who she truly is. We must speak of the dangers of this archetype when it remains unintegrated, when it operates from a place of deep wounding. The woman who unconsciously wields siren energy, driven by an insatiable need for validation, becomes a destructive force. She is a black hole of need, dressed in the guise of abundance. Her magnetism is not a byproduct of inner wholeness, but a desperate, calculated tool to secure attention, which she mistakes for love. This is the wounded siren. She collects admirers like trophies, each one a temporary fix for the gaping wound of her own low self-worth. She thrives on the drama of pursuit and conquest but is terrified of genuine intimacy. Once she has captured a man's devotion, she becomes bored and contemptuous, because no external source can ever fill her inner void. She discards him, seeking the next hit of validation from a new target. This is not a position of power, it is a psychological prison. She is trapped in a tragic, repeating loop, causing immense pain to others and, most of all, to herself. She is a ghost, haunting the lives of men, but never truly present in her own. Empowerment is not the ability to control others, it is the ability to control oneself. The journey to consciously integrating the siren archetype is the journey away from this painful, lonely prison and toward the freedom of authentic self-love, which requires no audience and seeks no applause. True siren power is never an external performance. It is not a script you memorize or a series of techniques you apply. It is the natural, radiant overflow of a rich and cultivated inner landscape. A woman who is magnetic is a woman who has a passionate relationship with her own life. Her energy is compelling because she is genuinely engaged with the world, not just waiting for a man to give her a world. What is this inner landscape made of? It is her curiosity, the books she reads, the art that moves her, the music that fills her soul. It is her purpose, whether it is building a business, nurturing a community, or creating a masterpiece. It is her connection to something larger than herself, her spirituality, her connection to nature, her philosophical beliefs. It is the quiet moments of solitude where she connects with her deepest self, without distraction. This inner world is her anchor and her sanctuary. A man is not her world, he is a welcome visitor she may choose to invite into it. He senses this immediately. He understands that her life was vibrant and full before he came along and that it will continue to be vibrant and full regardless of his role in it. This removes all pressure and creates a space of freedom and authentic desire. He wants to be in her world not because she needs him to build it, but because it is a beautiful, fascinating, and inspiring place to be. He is drawn to the light of the fire she built to keep herself warm. The language of the conscious, logical mind is words, facts, and data. It is the language of spreadsheets and legal contracts. The siren does not primarily speak this language. She communicates in the native tongue of the unconscious, symbolism, metaphor, feeling, and myth. She understands that the shortest path to a man's soul is not through his intellect, but through his emotions and his imagination. She doesn't argue or debate with logic. Trying to win a man over with facts is a masculine strategy. Instead, she works to shift the emotional state of the interaction. She can use humor to diffuse tension, tell a story that illustrates a point indirectly, or use a touch to communicate warmth and acceptance. She creates an experience, a feeling, a mood. Her communication is designed to be felt, not just understood. This is why men often describe such a woman as unforgettable. His logical mind may not remember the exact details of their conversations, but his emotional body, his subconscious, will remember exactly how he felt in her presence. He will remember the feeling of peace, of excitement, of being truly seen. These emotional imprints are far more powerful and lasting than any rational argument. While other women are trying to convince his mind, the siren is busy enchanting his soul. She operates on a different frequency, one that resonates with the deepest, most ancient parts of his being. The final journey, the ultimate integration of this powerful archetype, leads back to the core of Stoic wisdom. It is the full realization and embodiment of what Epictetus called the dichotomy of control. This is the simple but life-altering practice of separating what is within your control from what is not. You cannot control if he finds you attractive. You cannot control his projections. You cannot control his past wounds, his current mood, or his future choices. You cannot control if he calls, if he commits, or if he leaves. Any attempt to manage these external factors is a path to anxiety, frustration, and powerlessness. It is the path of the wounded, unintegrated siren, who chains her happiness to the whims of another. What can you control? Your thoughts. Your values. Your actions and reactions. The integrity with which you live your life. The boundaries you set. The richness of the inner world you cultivate. Your commitment to your own growth and healing. This is your kingdom. The conscious woman places 100% of her focus on what is within her sphere of control. She turns her attention away from the frantic effort to manage his feelings and directs it toward the serene mastery of her own inner state. This is the ultimate reclamation of power. It is the moment she realizes she was never a pawn in his game, she is the queen of her own. This is the destination of the journey, emotional freedom. It is a state of profound detachment from external validation. The woman who has integrated the Siren archetype and grounded it in Stoic self-mastery is no longer on a quest for love, but on a journey of expressing it. The archetype is no longer a tool for attraction, but simply one color in the vast, beautiful palette of her fully realized being. She does not need to be seen as a siren, a mother, a career woman, or any other label. She is simply herself, a whole and complete human being, fluid and ever evolving. Her self-worth is not a question to be answered by a man's approval, it is a statement she lives every day. It is an internal flame, a pilot light in her soul that cannot be brightened by another's praise or extinguished by their absence. The pursuit of a man's heart was a detour, a necessary part of the path that ultimately led her back to the only place she was ever truly going, home. To herself. She is no longer looking for the one, because she has finally become the one. Her life is not a waiting room for a partner to arrive. It is the main event. And from this place of unshakable inner peace and sovereign wholeness, she is free to love deeply and fearlessly, knowing that nothing and no one can ever take away the core of who she is. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.